Welcome to the Health and Wealth Power Hour with industry expert and health insurance broker pro, Harlon Pickett. A show about how you can live longer with more cash and flexibility to really enjoy those years and never run out of money. Harlon will take your calls on a variety of topics related to health insurance, health care, retirement income planning, Social Security, thrift savings plan, 403b, 401k, or just about anything that gives you the tools to take action on keeping more dollars in your pocket and putting more dollars towards your retirement. He'll even share a few industry secrets if you listen close. And now, here's your host, Harlon Pickett.
All right. Thank you guys once again for joining in. Welcome to the Health and Wealth Power Hour. I am Harlon Pickett. It is good to be back with you. Hope you've all had a blessed week, and we are certainly looking forward to a wonderful weekend. Nice and warm here in our area. Interesting how quickly that happened. Apparently, the latest front that come in was a hot front instead of a cold front. Welcome to Texas, right? Okay. Couple of things that have been going on, as we talked about last time, is the big changes due to the American Rescue Plan Act and the subsidy changes that took place because of that. This week has been a whirlwind of helping people take advantage of that, and I wanted to give you guys some examples of savings people have had because they gave us a shout and we were able to make the changes to their plan, which really meant nothing more than making sure they had access to the funds that were already available. Remember that these changes, this increase in a tax credit, subsidy, money that helps you pay for your insurance, it is available, but you cannot just stand by and think that it will happen. You must take action, and that action is going through and making sure that you say, yes, I want it. So a little bit of numbers for you here. Jennifer and her family will be saving $200 a month. Jared, who is on an individual plan, will be saving $51 a month. Sherry and her family of 6 will be saving $262 a month. Leanne and her new husband will be saving $77 a month. Leslie and her child will be saving $117 per month. And Kevin, with his 3 children and wife, will be saving $60 per month. Big savings all the way around, obviously some more than others. A lot of that depends on makeup of your family as far as ages across the board of both you and your children, because a lot of that is what they price is based on, typically the people, the parents in that case. Couple of things that were also very impressive is we had a number of people, of course, that did not qualify for tax credits and now do. And a couple of those, just a quick example, is Tom and Nadine were not getting a tax credit, paying about $1,400 a month for their plan, and their tax credit now is about $1,100, a little over $1,100. And so we're going to be able to save them that amount of money and cut their plan to less than $300 a month. Pretty big deal there. Steve's plan, he got no tax credit at all. He was paying $450 a month, and his tax credit is $587. That's right. Now Steve will not have to pay anything for his plan. His plan will be a zero-cost plan. A pretty big deal. This is an individual that, even though he was on a plan, he had a very high deductible plan, and it was not really covering anything. He has got over $10,000 worth of bills right now he is trying to negotiate through because of the type of plan that he had. And now he will be able to get a zero premium plan because of his tax credit and have those things covered. Be able to get a much better plan than what he was on right now. These are the wonderful things that we are able to help people with right now. It has been a blessing to do this. I just can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you're getting everything that you're entitled to right now. You know, one of the things that we have talked about, and I hope that you understand, is this money is already spent. This money has already been approved. It was all part of that $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act. And because of that, we are going to pay taxes for it. Let's just get straight clear to that. We are going to pay taxes for it. And so if you choose not to take advantage of it, you're still going to have to pay taxes for it. So you might as well go ahead and take advantage of what is out there. There is no reason not to, and make sure that you get everything that you're entitled to. And that is what we're going to help you do. And it's just such a blessing to so many people. You can imagine if you had that extra money, the things that you can do with it. And so I just want to stress to everyone, give us a call, get on our website, send us a request for more information, send us an email, whatever it takes, get in touch with us and we'll help you. Our number, Eagle Care Health Solutions, 512-566-4950. That's 512-566-4950. You can also email us at info@eaglecarehealth.com or just go and check us out on the eaglecarehealth.com website. You can also submit a request for contact there. As we continue to look at all the benefits that people are getting right now, there are a number of people, because of these savings, that are able to get other things that they could not afford before, such as the dental and vision plan, supplemental benefits such as cancer policies, accident policies. There's a number of different things that you can do. One of the other great benefits is, of course, now you have more money to put towards retirement. That is something that has truly been overlooked. You can now have no excuse not to go ahead and put some money aside for retirement. I do understand that it has been a big deal. I do understand that having that extra money is not always easy, but want to be sure that you understand that that can happen now. We can find you some money. We can make it possible for you to start putting aside money for retirement. We can make it possible for you to get some of those other benefits that you have not taken advantage of simply because you did not have the funds to do so. Remember, we are here for you. Our goal is your success, whatever that looks like. We want to make sure that you can afford your plan. We want to make sure that it fits your needs. One of the things that you will find whenever you talk to someone at Eagle Care Health Solutions is that we're going to ask you questions that you may not have even thought of or that other folks don't really care about. And that is, are your doctors covered? Are your medications covered? And if they are or aren't, what's going to be your cost if you don't have them covered? What difference is it going to make? I was talking to a young lady this morning, and it turns out that one of her medications was not going to be covered on the plan. After a little investigation, we found out that her brand name medication, if she were just to buy it cash pay, was about $27 at the local pharmacy. If she was to have it on the plan, it wasn't covered at all, and she would not be getting that discount. It's all part of the service that we do for you to make sure that you find the best possible deal. If some of these plans, or if some of these medications also have, say, a coupon that's available from the manufacturer, we're going to help you find that too, so that you can get the absolute best deal, save the most money. It's all about making sure that you have the right plan for you and also that you can afford that plan. I've told lots of people over lots of years, the best plan in the world is simply no good if you can't afford it, or if you can't afford to see the doctor, or if you can't afford to go to the hospital when you need to. If your plan means that you're afraid to go and get the care you need, it's time to find a new plan. Thank you for joining us today on the Health and Wealth Power Hour. Got a special guest coming up after the break. We'll be right back. Oh yeah, we are back. Health and Wealth Power Hour with Harlon Pickett. Really glad to have you join us today. Lots to talk about. Got an interesting email from one of my compatriots asking me to give him some details on what an HSA is. We had been talking a little bit about it and talking about changing his coverage, and he was a little bit confused of what an HSA is, which it stands for Health Savings Account. And a lot of the misconceptions on an HSA are that if you get an HSA plan, that part of your premium is going towards that account. And that is not true. You have to pay for your plan, and then you open up a separate account that you put money into to pay for medical expenses or sometimes medical supplies. Now, one of the things that has really changed about HSAs over the years is that the ones that we remember from the 80s and 90s was a use it or lose it scenario. That means at the end of the year, if you still had some money in that HSA, you were scrambling to do anything you could, whether that was go to the dentist, go to the eye doctor, buy new glasses, do whatever you could. Didn't matter. You had to do something right now or else you were going to lose that money. And obviously, that is not a good thing to do. You put your hard-earned money into an account, and now you're fixing to lose it. Well, the modern HSAs are simply not like that. If you do not use your money, it just rolls over. In fact, you can think of the modern-day HSAs as a medical retirement account to a certain degree because they have the same attributes as an IRA. You can have them roll over every year. There are limits that you can put in. For 2021, that is $3,600 for an individual or $7,200 for a family. And if you're 55 or older, you actually can put in an extra $1,000. Now, another thing that you need to understand about HSAs is while they are an outstanding benefit plan, because of the savings you can have too, is they are typically very bare bones plans. You're going to have a deductible, and then once you have met that deductible, everything's going to be covered. But until you meet it, you're pretty much on your own. They're saying, hey, you're putting this money aside. You get to use it tax-free, so you're going to use these funds. There's not going to be co-pays for doctors. There's not going to be co-pays for prescriptions. You're going to be paying out of pocket for those things. So for someone that is very healthy, it is a great, great opportunity to really put some money aside because an HSA is also going to cover all your preventative, which is great, right? You're still able to go and make sure that all your wellness is done, but you do not have to worry about having that out-of-pocket cost until something happens. And then you can use that money that you set aside, and if you don't, it just rolls over to the next year, which is really cool. All right, so I told you we were going to have a special guest on today, and we are very excited to have my compatriot and buddy here from KSEV 700, Mr. Chris X. Chris, good to have you here today, buddy.
Harlan, I'm good. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing great, buddy. I'm doing great. Good to talk to you, man.
Well, thanks for inviting me on your program. So I was running a little late trying to get ready for my show this afternoon. But I'm here. I'm all yours. You got me.
Okay, thank you so much. Hey, so what we were talking about, Chris, the same thing you and I were emailing back and forth yesterday, and that's HSAs, buddy.
Yeah, because I've been going back and forth talking with you about HSAs and some of these different options. It was weird because I'm one of those guys that lost my insurance with my previous job because of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. It just got too pricey and my employer no longer provided it. But it's a totally different world out there. When I was asking you between the difference between an IUA, an HSA, I guess there's IPOs, you name it. There's a whole lot of different things that people don't know about, and I'm one of them.
Hey, I got you, man. It's one of those things, buddy, where that's not what you get paid for, right? You get paid to do your thing, and it's you have to find someone that's an expert in that field to help you understand all those crazy different letters and what they mean.
Boy, absolutely. That's why I reached out to you, talk with Harlan, because you know this stuff. You know the difference between a direct primary care provider and all of this stuff. That it's all Greek to me. I know a little bit about it, but I try not to, as you just mentioned, I try not to talk about things that I don't know about because you end up looking real stupid real fast when you do that. And this is your level of expertise, not mine.
Hey, I really appreciate that, Chris. I'll tell you, one of the things we were just talking about on this health savings account is that they are two separate parts. As I mentioned to you in the email, you have your plan, and then you also have your account that you can use. And of course, one of the questions that I know you were concerned about was, well, if I don't use that money, will I lose it? And of course, you don't on the modern plans. But here's a really startling statistic, and I was going to talk to you personally about this instead of putting in an email because it's one of those things people don't think about. Of all the people that have HSAs across the country, Chris, only 80% ever put a single dime in their HSA savings account.
Wow.
Only 20%. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I would have never guessed that.
And, of course, what that means is good intentions, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I had all these great intentions of saving all this money. I love the way it sounded. And, yeah, I guess I'm going to spend that on something else instead of put it into my account. And that's unfortunate, but that is what we really see. And, of course, that goes in right with what we see in America about savings anyway, right?
But yeah, it's true. Everybody has, oh, I'm going to save this money, and then the refrigerator goes out, or you got to get a new washer dryer, or the winds, the storm that blew through here a couple months ago that, blew up our water pipes, and you name it, life happens.
Right, absolutely. And one of the other things you and I have been talking about was health share plans, and a lot of the misconceptions of what a health share is and what a health share is not. And the first thing to get out there, Chris, is that a health share is not insurance. And just that right there scares people.
Yeah, it freaks them out because they're like, I need to get insurance.
Right, because we have been, and you know this very well, we have been brainwashed in this country to believe that if you don't have health insurance, you cannot have health care.
Yeah. No, it's true. That's what people, I know that. The good thing is that's one thing that I do know that is false. But you're right. Most people in this country believe if you don't have insurance, you're as good as dead. You're not going to get any health care, and that's not true at all.
Absolutely. Let's look and see what they did. What did Obamacare do? What did the ACA do? Did it make sure that you had access to health care or make sure you had access to health insurance?
In my case, neither. It made it go up, and then it made my employer at the time stop providing it to the employees because it became too costly. So then people had to go basically find it on their own. And we learned that when former President Obama said, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan, and it's only going to reduce cost. And none of that kind of really transpired, did it?
No, none of that did. But here's the interesting thing. Wouldn't you love to be in an industry where they told you had to have the product you were selling or else you were going to get penalized? Wouldn't it be cool, Chris, if everyone had to listen to the Chris X show or else they were going to get a penalty?
You know what? That's the new rule. I think if you're not listening to Chris X radio every day from 4 to 6, you're going to get penalized. You're going to have to pay for it. Simple as that.
That would be a whole lot easier to get some sponsors for the show too, right?
Man, I could retire in like 6 weeks after that pretty quickly.
Well, no, see, you couldn't retire either, Chris, because if you did, then people wouldn't be able to listen to your show, and then they get penalized. There would be rioting in the streets, buddy.
Yeah, you're probably right. And then I'd have to pay to listen to my own show.
There
so
you
that
go.
Wouldn't be very good.
You could only play reruns for so long. Although you've been around for a long time, buddy, so you could probably play a few years of reruns before they realize, wait a second.
That's true. Yeah, dude, they'd probably get bored listening to them, but nonetheless, you're right. So, but no, that's a really good point you made. You really want to make something expensive, well, mandate it for everyone to do, and all of a sudden, seems like the price really went up on healthcare when they decided to quote unquote let the government fix it.
Right, absolutely. And as I mentioned whenever I was guesting on Chris Alcedo's show last week, one of the things that they did get right this time in the plan is more or less they made it possible for almost anybody to get a tax credit to help pay for it. And they had to make that change, buddy, because it had got so expensive, your regular everyday guy making just a decent living could no longer afford to have health insurance, and it made it almost impossible. I mean, you're a prime example of, a guy that's not rich, but a guy that's making a good living, and you don't qualify for anything, and you have to pay these exorbitant fees if you wanted to have health insurance, and that's why you look at options like Eagle Care Health Solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you're absolutely right. I was very, in the middle class. I'm not a super rich radio guy. This job came about as a part-time job for me when I was doing a different job, working in the, regular private industry, just like everybody else. And what happened was very quickly that, as you mentioned, the changes in the healthcare industry and of course, the Obamacare, as they call it, Affordable Care Act, it really changed a lot of things. And I think it forced not only my employer at the time, but many employers to not be able to provide those insurance to their people. They're like, hey, you just go get it on your own now. And I have talked to a few people, and I kind of wanted to ask you this question. I've talked to a few people that went and got on the Affordable Care Act. Early on, they said, oh, this is great very quickly. And then very quickly, within a couple of months, 6 months, all of a sudden it wasn't as great as they thought it was. They were able to get in and get looked at in the beginning, and then it wasn't so great, which probably makes things like Eagle Care and a whole lot of others a whole lot more attractive at this point.
Absolutely it does. One of the things that Eagle Care has that you don't see across the state of Texas anymore in particular is that they no longer have PPOs on the marketplace. So all you can look at is HMOs, or what's called an EPO, which is a glorified HMO, on the marketplace plans in the state of Texas. That's taking choice away. That is not keeping your doctor, is what that is. and that's a big deal. That's why we really offer these hybrid plans that fit in and put that PPO on there, buddy.
I'm glad you put that out there, because that's a big thing. A lot of people get confused. But what happened was they had a PPO, so they got to go see the doctors they wanted, and it was really good. And then very quickly, all of a sudden, they're stuck with the HMOs. They don't have their doctors anymore. They got a different plan. Things that seem like they're not going to cost as much all of a sudden start costing a whole lot more. And it just really wasn't this, pie in the sky they tried to sell it as.
No, absolutely. And you saw many carriers jumping out. Some of the big boys, Humana, United Healthcare, Assurant Health, who completely just got out of the business, period. Aetna, They all dropped out, man. They didn't want nothing to do with it.
Well, and I hate to say it, but on my shows I've covered, I believe that was partially by design. The government was trying to run them out of business to control everything, because if anything's not apparent at this point, the government really wants to control just about every aspect of our life, especially our health care in these crazy, we'll just call it the coronavirus days.
You're right. It definitely is a coronavirus. I love that one, man. I haven't heard that one before, Chris. That's excellent. That is definitely the new world we're in, buddy.
It's crazy, but like I said, they want to step in and just sort of lock things down, and they want to control everything. And as you know, when you put someone between you and your doctor, well, that's just an extra step you got to take. Harlan, since I came a little late, I can stick around a little longer if you want me to.
Okay, buddy. That's great. I sure appreciate that, man. We're going to go to break right now, and when we come back, got a couple more things I want to talk to with you, Chris X. Thank you for being on the show, Health and Wealth Power Hour. We'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to the Health and Wealth Power Hour with your host, Harlan Pickett. We are on with Chris X today. Once again, appreciate you taking time out of your day as you prepare for your show today, Chris, to spend some time with us, buddy.
Well, thank you, Harlan. I really appreciate it. I have a couple questions for you before we go. I see there's also a caller online. You want to take your caller before we get to my questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead. He might have something for you instead of me. So let's go ahead and see what Russell's got going on. Hey, Russell, how can we help you, buddy?
Hey, guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. And you may have already answered this, I don't know, but I did hear you say that they've just convinced us that we have to have health care. So if you don't have health care, how do you get health care?
Okay, so I think what you're actually asking, right, health insurance. What you're really saying is if you don't have health insurance, how can you get health care? Is that correct, Russell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's amazing that we've been brainwashed this way, but I promise you, if you will talk to a hospital, talk to a doctor, talk to an ER even, they'll be happy to work with you and give you a much better deal than you would get if you were having health insurance, because they have to charge a certain rate for that to be able to make up for the charges and all the administration that they have. There are even a number of facilities that do not even take health insurance anymore. You talk about the Texas Free Market Surgery Center here in Houston. They started actually in Austin, and there's also some places there in Oklahoma City. And you can go out to their website right now and find out what the cost would be on a huge number of different services, Russell. And what's happened there is they are pulling away from the insurance industry just because of the crazy cost and all the administration. One of the startling numbers to me is that since Obamacare started, the percentage of healthcare workers, or people that actually provide the service, the number of that has increased by about 3%. And the number of administration individuals has increased by 1,700%.
Wow, that's incredible.
And if that doesn't tell you, that doesn't tell you something, right?
Yeah, for sure. I had a sister years ago. She's passed, but she was probably in her late 60s or 70s, and she was never denied health care. Or at a hospital, she didn't really have any money, and I know she may have had Medicare, but she had open heart surgeries, and she had this. She was never denied health care at all.
Right.
So you're saying if...
Yeah, I'm saying that you don't have to have health insurance to get that health care. That's exactly right.
Okay, well, you answered my question, and I hope you answered it for some other people as well. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Russell. You have a blessed day, sir. All right, that's kind of an interesting thing there, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it's good because I've talked to other people and I've known people that once again they don't have health insurance and they've gone in and you can go to the hospital, you'll get treated. Now you're not going to get, as they say, the Cadillac plan. You're not going to get the greatest treatment in the world and the bells and whistles, but you're going to get treated. They will take care of you. Now I think one thing people need to understand: if you go and you can't afford it, you'll still get treated. But the reality is you're going to get billed for that, and you can go back and try to itemize it or do whatever. But the reality is you're going to do far better with something like Eagle Care with an insurance, because then you're not going to have to worry about dealing with the hospital and these other things. You're just interested in your care. It seems like a far better option, especially when you have affordable options with places like Eagle Care.
That's exactly right, Chris. And one of the things that I do want to point out is, while I say you can get treated without insurance, I'm certainly not condoning the fact that you shouldn't have something to help you, because you're right, the bill's still going to come. They're still going to charge you, and while it may be less than what it would be if you had health insurance, you're still going to get that bill. And if you have a health share, if you have something like Eagle Care Health Solutions, that is going to help you through that. And once again, now you got somebody on your side. You don't just have to fight by yourself. You have someone on your team.
Yeah, and I know people that didn't have insurance at the time when they went in and had major procedures done, and they couldn't afford to pay all of it because, once again, even when you reduce those costs, it's still expensive, and they couldn't afford to pay it, and then their credit gets ruined, and they have,
right.
You have financial issues with it. Like I said, you're still going to get the treatment, but it's a whole lot better when you've got something to really offset those costs. Which, by the way, before you go to the other callers, a couple of quick questions that I had when I was looking at, for a guy like me, because Russell brought up a really good point. For those who don't have insurance, I'm looking at something with Eagle Care for a guy like me who doesn't make a ton of money, but I make enough, I guess, to survive. I don't go to the doctor very often. I'm knock on wood. I'm knocking on the table here. Is I haven't had any issues. I haven't been sick. I don't take any medications. I'm in a relatively good shape, especially for my age. And for years I had health insurance and never used it. What is probably a really good option for somebody like me who's, in their 50s, who's looking to go get health care, but I don't necessarily need a Cadillac plan, I don't think. I'm relatively healthy. I've never had any big diseases. I've never had any major issues. I mean, I'm overall healthy, and I've never used my insurance in the past.
That is a great question, Chris. I'll tell you, it's very interesting. We made options through Eagle Care Health Solutions to take care of the whole gambit. And you look at what you have just talked about and what you have just described. Our option called Eagle's Vision, which is just working with a health share, is probably a great option for you. It is one of the least expensive options you can find. And on top of that, our health share is not like many others. Our health share includes teledoc. Our health share includes even mental health care as part of it. It includes a doctor's visit that you can use throughout the year, RX share, so you can have some sharing with your generic medications, and a few other bells and whistles too, buddy. So it's not just a traditional health share where you're not going to get any benefit unless you have a giant bill. There are some really good benefits in there. And, I know that recently even yesterday, we were emailing back and forth about some of those costs. And we're talking about, even if you got the best, highest level of that plan, that really you had very little exposure throughout the entire year, that would only be $350 a month for you.
See, I know there's a lot of people that are in similar age brackets. I know there's a lot of guys in their 40s and ladies in their 40s, or also people in their 60s, similar things. And I know the prices will, I imagine, vary between your relative health and your age and that kind of stuff. But I know there's a ton of people that, like I said, they're just like me. They lost their insurance just the same way that I did, because the government came in and fixed it, and then their employer stopped providing it. So
absolutely, fixed it's a relative term, right?
Boy, by the way, you mentioned mental health care. You weren't referring to me when you said that with the Eagle Vision.
Well, I mean, I wasn't mentioning any names, but let's be honest, Chris. If you look at what COVID has done, there's been a huge increase in demand for mental health, and that is one of the things we saw. That is something that we want to make sure people could take advantage of, even if all they could have or all they felt like they needed was that kind of bare bones health share plan. We still wanted them to have access to the care that they need. And that's important.
I figured you just listened to my show a couple times, and
once again, I mean, that I think you having your show helps you out on the mental health side because you get to vent where a lot of people don't get to, buddy.
oh man, I say that, I've said it regularly. Doing the radio show to me is like therapy, and that's probably one of the reasons why I don't have additional health issues. Is I get to go and I talk to the listeners of KSCB every day, and I vent and we talk things out. We feel good and we share, and I realize we're all have similar mindset. And when I'm done with my show, I feel like I just went to therapy for 2 hours.
Yeah, I understand. I understand very well. That is interesting whenever you can sit down and talk to somebody that's like-minded. You get to vent without being negative. You get to bring the positives up to each other too. And while everything is not perfect in this world, we do have the opportunity every day to choose our happiness and to choose our joy and to not be that Debbie Downer to everybody, but to bring happiness into other people's lives. And, that I think that's something that you have the opportunity to do too, Chris. Let people know that they're not alone. And I know on your show that's what you do also, is you let them know they have a sounding board, they have a place where they can discuss the things that they see are going on also. And I really commend you for that, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. It's funny because I talk a lot of politics on the program. I get a lot of people that want to talk politics with me, and I'm one of the guys that goes to the party, and I don't want to talk politics. I get to do it every day. I get to do this all the time, and we work it out. So I've already kind of been through it, and it's hilarious. I've got to the point now someone will say, hey, well, what are your thoughts on this, 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 and this? And my response to them is, you know what, just listen to my show. I've already covered this.
I understand that. I understand that very well. That is kind of funny. If you listen to episode 43 on week, then we talk specifically about that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And once again, I'm generally covering news and politics on my program. The things that you're covering here on this program are so much more in depth when you're talking about, like I said, people's health care and what they need. And I know it's, like I said, you're providing a service. I may allow that venting service, but like I said, I don't get to cover the real health care things of what you do here on this program, which is why it's so good to have you on the Voice of Texas. And like I said, I know we got people listening right now. They're calling in. They've got more questions. You want to take some more calls?
Yeah, let's go ahead. We have Ray is calling in, and I don't know where from, but from Texas somewhere. Ray, how can I help you today, sir?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good show, some good information. I heard y'all speaking of HSAs, and it's been revised or changed or whatever term you want to use there. And I was curious about the IRS implications, income tax implications. Has that changed also, or is it still, if you use it for medical, I believe you didn't pay the full income tax, et cetera? Can you enlighten us on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so anything you put into that HSA throughout the year, let's say you max that out at the $3,600, just like you would an IRA, you get to reduce that. You get to wipe that off your taxes. And as long as you're spending any of that money, let's just take, for example, that you were to spend $1,000 from that account on different medical expenses throughout the year, then it works the same way. So that same $3,600, you still don't have to claim on your taxes. And you spent $1,000 of it, you kept the other $2,600 and you didn't. It just rolls over to the next year with the same type of attributes as an IRA. In other words, when you get to 59.5, you have more access to that HSA, just like you did an IRA. But Ray, one of the things that I was talking about is it's not like the HSAs we had in the 80s and 90s where it was a use it or lose it. That's the biggest key component in the change. And yes, the tax benefits can be substantial, especially if you're the 55 and older. It's another place for you to put that money, more or less qualified money that you can save and stash away and keep from having to pay income tax on that.
Well, that's good to hear. It seems like it's a no-brainer for someone that had high medical bills, high prescription bills, I should say, and to not use something like this to pay for their medicine that even if they've got insurance, maybe it don't cover it, or maybe you got a very large deductible. That sounds like it would be a no-brainer not to have some kind of little setup that way.
Well, right, and of course you have to have a health savings account eligible plan. So not all plans allow you to have an HSA. In fact, I was contacted this morning about someone specifically about that. She said that they moved to Texas, and the plan that they had previously was an HSA. They moved to Texas without thinking about what they were going to do, changed to a plan, and it's not HSA compatible. That means that you can no longer save money. Even if you have a plan that is not HSA compatible, you can still spend the money in an HSA account. You just cannot put any more in it. So it can be a big deal. And remember, an HSA is also considered a high deductible health plan, and therefore typically you're going to have a higher deductible too, Ray, on those. And that's a big deal.
All right. Well, thank you for that information. I hope that helps. Well, no, it helped me. I hope it helps someone else.
Yes, sir. I sure appreciate the call.
You bet.
Okay. All right. Chris, I sure appreciate you being on the show today, buddy. I'll be listening to these this evening, and we'll be back in touch soon to help you with your plan, man, and get you signed up on some Eagle Care, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, Harlan. Thanks for answering my questions and bringing me on your program. I really appreciate it.
You got it, man. You have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too.
All right, gang. Health and Wealth Power Hour. We have a couple more callers on the line. We will talk to them when we come back. See you in a few. All right, we are back. Health and Wealth Power Hour with your host, Harlan Pickett. Great day today. Lots of information we've shared out there. Hope it has been helpful to each and every one of you. Don't forget, you can always call in if you have any questions. Want to once again give you guys the number for Eagle Care Health Solutions. That is 512-559-4358. That's 512-559-4358. You can email us at info@eaglecarehealth.com or just go out on the website, eaglecarehealth.com, and submit a request for contact. All right, we have another caller in today. This is Mike. Mike has some questions about Obamacare plans and other plans. Mike, how can I help you today, sir?
Hey, Harlan, good to hear from you. I was wondering, I don't know which one would be better for me. Should I be looking at Obamacare or Eagle Care?
The question is, do you think, or do I think Obamacare or Eagle Care is going to be the best for you? I'll tell you what, Mike, that is a great question, and the only way to really know that is get to know a little bit more about you and find out what you're really looking for. One of the things we have to take in consideration when we're looking at that, Mike, is your overall health, the medications, doctors. If you have any pre-existing conditions that may be, subject to not being covered on some of those plans, then we need to make sure that we're getting you on the right thing. But there's a little bit of a process we go through whenever we do that, and that's just more or less of a needs analysis, Mike, to make sure that you're getting the best plan.
All right. Well, I did have one more question, though, about Obamacare, though.
Sure.
So I've been listening to you earlier in your show. You were talking about it, and I was wondering, let's say I do get an Obamacare plan. If I get that plan, how long will it last?
Okay, that's an interesting question. How long would your plan last? It sounds to me like maybe you've had some short-term plans in the past, and that's something that is obviously concerned. Obamacare plans are going to last an entire year. And even beyond that, in many cases, the reason why your plan wouldn't last longer than a year is because they may change your plan. If they obviously say that carrier pulled out, as say someone on a Aetna plan would have found out here a few years ago, well, you can't continue to have a plan that doesn't exist anymore. But typically, if you're going to be, say, on a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, as long as Blue Cross Blue Shield has that same plan next year, you're just going to carry on. Now, what would stop you from doing that even if it was still available? Well, the cost is one of the things that could do that, Mike. And the problem then, of course, is you're going to get that notice of rate increase near the end of the year, and it could become so unaffordable that now you have to try to find you something else. And that is a big deal. So typically the plans will just keep going. You're not just going to run out of that plan. It's not going to end like a short-term plan or like some of the other plans that do, but affordability-wise, it could change whether or not you can continue on with that plan yourself.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a big thing for me is affordability-wise, trying to, I got a family to look out for, and, I can't be spending all my money on a plan.
Right. I understand. Well, it sounds to me like you probably should reach out to us individually, Mike, and we can look at your situation. And with a family, there is a good chance now that you would qualify for a good-sized tax credit. And depending on what your income is and what your situation is work-wise, and if anything is available to you through work, if you got a good-sized tax credit, we could probably get you a very, very good plan on Obamacare that would work for you and your family. The one thing that we do at Eagle Care is we make sure we look at all of the options. We want to make sure that all of the options are out there on the table so that you understand what you have available to you.
So should I just give a call to that number you said right before you answered my call?
Yeah, yes, sir. There you go, 512 512-559-4358. That is 512-559-4358. Or you can go out and check us out at eaglecarehealth.com. Appreciate you calling in today, Mike. All right, so he brought up some very interesting things to think about, and that is, of course, affordability, and then what plan is best for you. Typically, it takes quite a bit to go through and look and decide which plan is going to be best for somebody. You want to make sure, once again, medications are covered well, your prescription drugs are covered well, those type things. But one of the things that is changing the game right now is if someone is eligible for COBRA, then they need to make sure that they get all the information about that COBRA plan before they try to do anything else. Because in the American Rescue Plan Act, they are providing 6 months of subsidies to pay for your COBRA plan. Now, there are some qualifications you have to have for that, including you must have involuntarily been separated from service, or else had a decrease in the hours that you worked to help you lose those benefits, as in you were full-time, now you're part-time, and you no longer qualify for benefits. That would put you into the realm of where COBRA was offered to you. Once again, if you were severed, if you lost your job involuntarily, then you're going to be offered COBRA. Now, even if that happened in the last year, you still would have the availability to have that 6 months of COBRA. While it is retroactive in you being able to get COBRA, it is not retroactive in payment for COBRA. What that means is you still have the time period from April to September, or to the end of September, that you would have your COBRA paid for. If you started COBRA in January, it's not going to back pay those other 3 months. You will have to have paid for that. It's not going to reimburse you for that. But let's just say that you were offered COBRA back in January and you could not pay for it because of how expensive it was. Typically, you only have that 60 days to select that COBRA. Now your time is up. But the other thing the law did is it allowed now for you to go ahead and retroactively get that COBRA without having to retroactively pay for it. What that means is you did not have to accept it before. You can have a do-over, decide you want COBRA, and have started in April, May, whenever it is you decide to do this. Now, one of the other things that you need to keep in mind is if you've been on COBRA for a while and your COBRA ends during that period, let's just say that you've been on COBRA and your 18 months is up at the end of June. Your subsidy will only cover those months, April, May, and June. It is not going to extend your COBRA. It doesn't work that way. So you only get the subsidy for the 3 months that fall into the time period where the subsidies are being offered. So it doesn't extend your COBRA, it just pays for it for that time that's in there. A lot more information that we can provide for you if you need that. And all the things that we talked about today, obviously you can reach out to us at Eagle Care Health Solutions, and that is eaglecarehealth.com or 512-559-4358. I want to let you guys know next week we were going to have Mr. John Bargerstock. He is going to be our guest. He is the owner and clinical director of Key T Wellness in Dickinson, Texas. He is a 30-year military veteran, and he'll be here to tell us about unlocking our potential. His center currently provides numerous health forecast and body rejuvenating services like hormone replacement, therapy, body composition analysis, weight loss treatment, B12 shots, and cosmetic and aesthetic services. We look forward to seeing him next week. We appreciate you joining us today. Don't forget, we're here to help you. Our goal is your success. Join us next week on Health and Wealth Power Hour. We're out.